Every single WWE PLE for 2024 is officially in the books. But which ones were great, which ones were amazing, and which ones were mid? Well, we're going to go ahead and find out here today because I am tier ranking each and every single WWE PLE of 2024. And as always, I want to make sure you guys share your comments in the comment section below. Let me know, do you agree? Do you disagree with my rankings? Which ones deserve to be higher? Which ones deserve to be lower? Let me know. All right, but let's get to it. We're going to kick off the list with the Royal Rumble, which we all know is one of the most exciting pay-per-views of the year. So fans' hopes are really, really high when it comes to the Royal Rumble. I think we're always expecting to see like the very, very best moments. We're wanting to be excited the entire time. And of course, now we're getting two Rumbles, which is both the men's and the women's. So it's like double the fun, or at least it should be. However, this year's Royal Rumble was all about the women. The women's Royal Rumble was so freaking good. I thought it was one of the best that we had seen for the women in a hot minute because there was just so much excitement in it. We got so many different surprises. Like looking at this list right now of just some of what we saw, like seeing Bayley come out at number 3, that was very cool because little did we know at that moment that she would go on to win the Royal Rumble and have lasted over an hour and 3 minutes, which is just insane. But I love that Bayley got that because Bayley is somebody that I feel we respect a whole lot. I feel a fan base respects her a whole lot. She really cares about WWE and the women's division. She is such a great wrestler, such a great character. So just getting to see her have this moment in the Rumble throughout the entire thing, I thought was phenomenal. But then we got Jordynne Grace. Jordynne Grace coming out at number 5 was a legitimate big surprise. We talk all the time about how hard it is to keep surprises under wraps nowadays. Usually things get leaked, things get reported, that type of stuff. But no, like Jordynne Grace was kept well under wraps, which I loved because the second she came out, I thought, no effing way. I was at the show and I lost my shit when Jordynne Grace came out. I'm such a big fan of hers, and little did we know that we would end up seeing her so much more in WWE to the point where we're expecting to see her in 2025. And then some other really great moments that we got here. Of course, I cannot forget to mention Trinity and Naomi, who was the second entrant, and that was cool too because she was making her return to WWE after having left after the whole fallout with her and Sasha Banks and her going to TNA, having a banger of a year there and coming back here with a little bit more credibility under her belt, which I thought was very well deserved. I also loved seeing Roxanne Perez, who has came out in the Rumble before, but seeing her again. Jade Cargill making her official in-ring debut. She went in there and she looked like a superhero. She looked so powerful. Tiffany Stratton absolutely killed it. She got such a great number at 29. Loved it. And then Liv Morgan at number 30. It was just very, very cool. So what it was with the Women's Royal Rumble was that it was boom, 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 a bunch of highlights. But then the Men's Rumble didn't exactly have that. And I had a feeling when I was there in the crowd that this Rumble wasn't going to hit the same because the first 2 entrants were Jimmy and Jey Uso. That should have been a moment where everybody was like, oh shit, you know, brother versus brother. This is going to be massive. And I remember being in the crowd and being like, wow, no one is like making that much noise. Like we should all be reacting so much more to this. And that's when I kind of realized that maybe this one wasn't going to be as hot because it kind of felt like the crowd was dead a little bit for a lot of these moments. And of course, people were excited once we got to the end with Cody Rhodes and CM Punk. Unfortunately, CM Punk gets injured in this match, so that was unfortunate. So overall, I mean, the only other thing that I can think of that I really enjoyed in the Rumble besides the women's match was Logan Paul and KO. I didn't think that match was bad. So overall, because the only thing that really hit on this show was the Women's Royal Rumble, I am going to put the Royal Rumble in the loved this category, and most of it is really only because of the Women's Royal Rumble. But had the Men's Rumble hit, it would have been 10 out of 10 for me. All right, moving on to what I like to call the Rhea Ripley pay-per-view. Yes. All right, I'm so happy that we got a pay-per-view this year. It felt like it was primarily about one person, getting to see Rhea as the champion, getting to see Rhea on the cover, Rhea in Australia. This was perfect for Rhea because I think this year really showed that she is a top draw, not just for the women, but overall in general. People love Rhea Ripley. And so I personally found this very cool to see this pay-per-view be in her theme, she being the sole person on the poster. That's why it's the Rhea Ripley pay-per-view, in my opinion. PLE, damn it. All right, so that's one big highlight already for the Elimination Chamber, that this was the Rhea Ripley PLE. But on top of that, when I think of the Elimination Chamber, the first thing that I think about is Tiffany Stratton. And the reason I think about Tiffany Stratton is because she was part of this awesome Elimination Chamber match, but she had just really recently joined the main roster. And even though she was a heel in NXT and she was supposed to be a heel on the main roster, people were cheering for her like crazy because she was so freaking good in this Elimination Chamber. She had all the best spots, and that match really proved that there was a reason why they called her up to the main roster as quick as they did, and the reason that we ended up seeing them put the Money in the Bank briefcase on her later on, to the point where we're getting ready to watch her, hopefully, fingers crossed, wrestle in a big match at WrestleMania this year. So Tiffany Stratton, from this moment on, she really proved that she is a main event act. So that is something that I definitely recall. The men's chamber, not bad, but I don't remember too much from it like I do the women's Elimination Chamber. I also didn't think Rhea versus Nia was bad at all. I love seeing Rhea dominate, especially when she's in there with somebody who's, you know, who's bigger than she is. And to me, that's kind of fun because I look at Rhea Ripley and I see her like this powerhouse. So seeing her in there with Nia, I thought was really cool. I also liked the tag match. So overall, I thought this was a very decent pay-per-view. Like, it wasn't bad. So I gotta go ahead and put Elimination Chamber in the very fun category. Alrighty, next up, we got WrestleMania Night 1. So I'm gonna be honest, guys, when it comes to WrestleMania, I just get so excited. You can give me like some crappy stuff and I'd probably still be like, ooh, yeah, WrestleMania. Because WrestleMania just kind of gets that excitement out of you. Now, I was at WrestleMania this year. Night 1 was so freaking cold, guys. I remember waiting in the press line and just being like this. I was just standing there with my coat and I was like, oh, let me tweet about WrestleMania. But it was so cold. Thankfully, I was in the press box, so we were able to close the windows. I do think somebody ended up opening a window and everybody turned like, why did you just open up that window? We were freezing in there, but it ended up being a great night. So, but that's like the first thing that I think of with WrestleMania Night 1. But also, the opening match of the night, Rhea Ripley versus Becky Lynch. This was personally my favorite match of the night, and I say that because to me, this was Becky Lynch passing the baton to Rhea Ripley and going, tag, you're it. You're going to be one of the top faces now in this company. Becky Lynch was, unfortunately very sick in this match. And the fact that she still went up there, I think she had like a over 100 degrees something, a fever, I believe. And so for her to go out there and still wrestle this match and have the match that they had between her and Rhea, given how sick she was, I'm like, dude, imagine what she could have done if she was like healthy. So I love this. Unfortunately, I was so sad when Rhea, got injured and she had to relinquish the bout after this. I thought that was so sucky. I felt so bad for Rhea, but it did not take away from Rhea and Becky being the spectacle that it was. I loved this match. And also, I had just came off of reading Becky Lynch's book when I was watching this match. So I just kind of felt like a bigger appreciation for Becky Lynch. So some other matches that I enjoyed from WrestleMania Night 1 was Sami versus Gunther. That was definitely cool to see Sami Zayn and Gunther's historic reign as Intercontinental Champion with 666 days. So you can't forget that moment. And then, of course, the WrestleMania main event, the tag team match with Rock and Roman versus Seth and Cody. I mean, first of all, we were seeing The Rock wrestle, which was very freaking cool. I mean, it had been forever since we've seen him in a match. And to see him in this matchup and given everything that happened before that, everything between Rock and Roman, Roman and Cody, Rock and Cody. Did I say that? There's so many things that intertwined in this one storyline, like the drama that you saw on screen and then the drama in the back scenes, like behind the scenes of like whether or not Cody was going to get his main event. Everything that led up to this moment, it was just a lot. But even though it was lengthy, I had so much freaking fun with it. And usually, again, the longer the match match, there's a good chance that you can tune out. No, I was very, very connected in here. Like the whole time I was like, all right, what are we doing next? What's going on next? What's going on here? So I was definitely feeling this match a whole lot, and it was very, very fun to be there for this. So I would say at least 3 of the 7 matches I found memorable. The other ones were, kind of just there, but still, they were fine. But for the most part, I do have to give WrestleMania 40 night 1 because, guys, I know not every match was perfect. I know, please don't yell at me, but it's WrestleMania. It's so much fun. And with the matches that I mentioned, they carried enough weight for me to at least put this one in 10 out of 10. Although realistically, it probably wasn't 10 out of 10. It was maybe like 7 out of 10 or 8 out of 10. But I'm a little biased when it comes to WrestleMania, guys. I'm a little biased. It's a WrestleMania, guys. It's just an excitement in the air. All right. So night 2, I think you can kind of figure out my ranking for this one as well. But big moments, of course, Drew versus Seth. Fun match with Damian coming in and cashing in on Drew. Even though I didn't love the cash in, a lot of people did. So I'm going to put their feelings in this video because the pop was massive here. Also, it was less colder night 2. So shout out to night 2 being less cold. I think I even took my jacket off. So that's nice. We also got Bayley versus Io, which I thought was one of the best matches, one of the best wrestling matches that we saw that night. They absolutely brought it. People were so into this match. They were so into Bayley getting her moment and like really rooting for Bayley here. And that's something that I won't forget. Like I will always remember how much the people had Bayley's back during this. And then of course, guys, come on. WWE is really great at creating moments, right? Sports entertainment. There's a reason why the word entertainment is there. This was sports entertainment on steroids with this match with Cody versus Roman because they brought in Undertaker, John Cena. I mean, that moment when we all heard the dong and Undertaker came out, absolutely everybody lost their shit. Even me, who I like to be composed and I'm usually like super chill. But when he came out, I was like, oh shit, I was not expecting that. And I think everybody, whether you were in the building, watching at home, however it is that you were consuming WrestleMania, everybody had the ooh moments, and that's what it does. And that's going to be super memorable. Moments like that are always going to hit. And then, of course, Cody Rhodes finishing his story. How many times do you have to talk about this? It was awesome. Everybody cheers for that underdog story. And this was Cody's underdog moment finally coming true. Wow. I was so happy for him, guys, like legit. So, of course, I got to put WrestleMania night 2 also in the 10 out of 10 category because of those massive moments that I just mentioned. Moving on to Backlash France. All right. You know what? I'm gonna be honest with you guys. With this one, I didn't really remember that much. I was kind of going through the card and I was looking at it and I was going, man, how did I feel about these matches? Kind of what I did for everything. I feel like if you remember it at the end of the year, chances are you remembered it for a reason. And Backlash France, Cody versus AJ, I thought was good. I did like Bayley, Naomi, and Tiffany Stratton. You guys have heard me on my podcast say numerous times that I love three-way matches, triple threats. Let me emphasize. Pause. No, legit. I loved the work that we saw with all of these 3 ladies in this match, but those were really like the big things that I could honestly say that I recalled from the pay-per-view that really stood out to me that I remembered enjoying. So for that reason, I gotta put Backlash France a little bit low on this rate scale, and I'm gonna put it in few highlights because there was only a few highlights that I remembered. So I'm sorry, Backlash France. Next up, we got King and Queen of the Ring. So we got to see Liv defeat Becky Lynch. And of course, she continued on with the reign that we have been seeing her do. Some of the best work that we've seen from Liv Morgan. I honestly feel like Liv Morgan had such a great year. I could do an entire video on Liv Morgan and all her successes for 2024. Sammy versus Chad, another good wrestling match. We saw Nia Jax versus Lyra Valkyria. Phenomenal match. Lyra, who had just joined the main roster to beat up in this big PLE match, in front of a totally different audience. I thought that was very, very cool for Lyra. I was so happy for her because I've been such a big fan of her work over on NXT. And so for that reason, loved it. I knew she wasn't going to win. I thought it'd be cool if she did, but I had a feeling it was going to go to Nia Jax. And so congratulations to Nia. Honestly, she really has worked very, very hard this 2024 year, and we can't take that away from her. So good job, Nia. Gunther versus Randy, a great match. Unfortunately, Unfortunately, the ending was a little wonky, not really. It kind of took away from the moment, but the match itself was still really good, so I don't want to take too much away from that. And then Cody versus Logan Paul. I hated the build up to this match. I did not like that. For like a week we were like confused. We were like, so is the United States Championship on the line? Is it not on the line? There was some confusion there. I did not love the build. This match was not bad. However, it wasn't as entertaining as Roman versus Logan Paul. I thought the Cody versus Logan Paul was a little less entertaining. So for that reason, I kind of docked some points off of that. But regardless, I'm going to put King and Queen of the Ring over in the very fun category. All right, moving on to Clash at the Castle, Scotland. So also this one here, I was at the show. I loved going to Scotland. Shout out to anybody here who's from Scotland. Very, very nice people over there. Shout out to the rat that I saw in the restaurant that scared the living shit out of me. I will never forget you, Scotland. Oh yeah, and shout out to Arthur Hill because that is where I fell and like hurt my wrist and my butt and my pants got damaged. Unforgettable trip, guys. Unforgettable trip. I might even rank this show higher just because of the trip itself. But anyways, I remember not really loving Cody versus AJ. I kind of loved their previous match a little bit more. I think for me, I didn't love the ending. I think I liked the match, but not the ending so much. So I'm trying to remember how I felt about that. And I'm sure you guys can go back and find my review on here somewhere and remember exactly what I said there. But I didn't think that Bianca and Jade should have lost here. I think that's somewhere where the momentum started to go down. And especially in hindsight, seeing that they didn't really show Isla or Alba on TV. Very, very unfortunate. I think had they shown Isla and Alba on TV, I might have looked back at this a little bit more favorably, but I know why they did it. You know, shout out to Alba Fire, sending her lots of love. Sammy versus Chad, another good match. Bailey versus Piper, killed it. Love to see Piper get her moment. I was so obsessed with how she got this match by just going up to Triple H and asking for this match. She revealed that to me in an interview, and she just killed it. She deserved it. I think Piper is underrated on the show. She does a phenomenal job. So give her some love for that for sure. And then Priest versus Drew. This was another really good match. And of course, getting to see Drew in Scotland, very, very fun. Unfortunately, Damian Priest had a moment where his leg got stuck. So that got like a little weird. But for the most part, they were able to, you know, Drew was a pro in this, man. Like he was able to like find a way to like beat him, but also help him out of that position because the poor referee was struggling too. But this was so fun. And I think because I was there, I loved Scotland and the PLE flew by so fast for me, like fast. I sat down and I was like, ooh, I'm here. I blinked and the show was over. So I love stuff like that. So because of all of that, Clash at the Castle in Scotland, I am going to put it in the loved this category. I'm being a little biased though, because I was at the show. I think if I wasn't at the show, I probably would have put it in the very fun category. All right, moving on. Let's go to Money in the Bank. All right, so Money in the Bank, again, when I think back to this pay-per-view, I think of the women's Money in the Bank. I think of Chelsea Green being thrown off the ladder. Oh my God, so fun. Tiffany Stratton getting her big moment. Very, very cool. Sami Zayn versus Braun Breaker. A fun freaking match, man. Men's Money in the Bank. This one wasn't necessarily as memorable in my opinion, but it was still there. Of course, the women's Money in the Bank definitely just outdid it completely. I mentioned Sammy versus Braun Breaker being a match that I thoroughly enjoyed. Another match that I did enjoy though was Damian Priest defeating Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre. I thought that this match was hard hitting and kind of exactly what we needed to see here. So shout out to Damian Priest, especially because this was his World Heavyweight Championship defense after having won the title, and he kind of needed to have these kinds of matches to make his championship reign just hit a little bit more. So shout out to him on that. The 6-man tag team match, fine match, but probably didn't stand out to me as much, especially because when I look back at it, I'm like, all right, like we got some good stuff from it, sure. But I'm gonna go ahead and put Money in the Bank in the very fun category. I think it was more for me about the women's Money in the Bank that I thoroughly recall like really being excited about. I think if like now I was still more excited about some of the other matches, I probably would have ranked it a little higher. Alrighty, next up we got SummerSlam. All right, I was at this show. Very, very great energy in this building, guys. Great crowd, great energy. It felt like a WrestleMania. That was the energy that we had in the building, and so much went down on this this show. The only thing that I did not like on the show was Cody versus Solo Sikoa. That was incredibly boring. I was watching that one on the floor too because we were standing up waiting to go into the press room, and I was standing there, my feet started hurting, and I started looking around, and I'm like, man, this match is going on forever. When is Roman Reigns coming out? Hurry up, Roman. But of course, when Roman came out, that was such a massive moment, and he came out with the OTC shirt, and we started the OTC thing. So shout out to Roman Reigns for sort of saving this main event because it did not need to be what it was prior to that. But Gunther wins the World Heavyweight Championship, a massive moment. We got to see the first Drew McIntyre versus CM Punk matchup here of this really great long feud that we would go on to see a lot more of. Braun Breaker finally wins the Intercontinental Championship, another major moment. And then Dom kisses Liv and betrays Rhea. Wow, that was kind of a lot that went down on the show. It was definitely a newsworthy show. I'm going to put SummerSlam in the 10 out of 10 category. I think because of all of the newsworthy bits that I just mentioned, the only thing that I took from it was the main event, but the show itself was pretty damn noteworthy. So I'm going to go ahead and put it in the 10 out of 10 category. Alrighty, next up, we got Bash in Berlin. I was also at this show. In fact, it was a show that I'm so glad I went to, even though I didn't have the best experience in Berlin. I had the best experience in Amsterdam, though. Love Amsterdam. Shout out to anybody here who's from Amsterdam. Cody versus KO. Very, very fun match to the point where we're still seeing this feud culminate. So shout out to them for rocking this. Bianca and Jade get their titles back. Cool. Happy to see that. The strap match versus CM Punk and Drew. I only wish it wasn't the four corners one. I really wish it wasn't like that. I think that would have made the match better, but still a really good one. We got to see Gunther versus Randy once again. Gunther getting an insane reaction in Berlin was very cool to see. This was another pay-per-view that I sat down, blinked, and the show was over. I don't know about what it is about these international PLEs, but the international PLEs, I think, fly by faster than like any other show. I had a really good time with Bash in Berlin. I thought we saw a lot of pretty good wrestling on this show. So I'm going to go ahead and put Bash in Berlin in the loved this category. Next up, we have Bad Blood. So I wasn't going to go to this show. However, my little brother kind of wanted to shadow me at work for his business project that he was doing in school. And I thought, all right, you know what? Let me take you to Bad Blood and you can come shadow me. And I'm actually really glad because I wasn't going to go to this show. And I'm so glad that I went because I thought it was a really, really great show. We, of course, got the CM Punk Drew McIntyre Hell in a Cell match. Everyone loved it. I loved it. My little brother was marking out, and he's not even a wrestling fan, but he enjoyed this matchup a whole lot. It was violent. It was gruesome. It was exactly what this match needed to be for the feud that we were seeing here. And then we had Nia versus Bayley. I loved this because, you know, again, Nia is just so much bigger than Bayley, and Bayley was fighting from underneath. Love to see that too. Great matchup. Of course, Nia retains, but still a great matchup for her reign. We got to see Rhea and Liv. My favorite part of this was the fact that we got to see Dominic Mysterio in the shark cage and him like falling out and then being a human piñata upside down. Oh my God, that was so much freaking fun to see. I will never forget that imagery, especially because Dominic was like directly in front of me, like from where I was sitting. So it just looked insane. Cody versus Roman versus the Bloodline was fun, but the big moment, of course, was getting to see The Rock come out. Of course, he didn't really do anything, kind of just pointed, and that was really it. But regardless, it was still a really cool moment. So when you get The Rock at your show, kind of boost up a couple of points here. But I had the best time at Bad Blood. I almost feel like this is an underrated PLE for the year. So I'm going to give Bad Blood the flowers that it deserves. And I am going to put Bad Blood in the 10 out of 10 category. All good matches, multiple memorable moments, and I personally had a really good time with my brother there at the show, so I gotta rank it 10 out of 10. Next up, we got Crown Jewel. So this one was another fun one. I think that sometimes we look at the Crown Jewel pay-per-views and we kind of put off a little bit by them, so we tend to dismiss them before they even begin. So I have to like break away from that and look at the show as a whole and see what was, you know, good and what wasn't good, right? I do still think that Bronson Reed should have defeated Seth Rollins here. Of course, he did get his win later on, but we're only talking about Crown Jewel right now. Women's Fatal 4-Way Tag Team match was great. At that Lash and Jakara looked phenomenal, and so did Damage Control. Gunther versus Cody was another one that really, really delivered. And then, of course, Nia versus Liv also delivered. A lot of shenanigans in this one, but still an overall fun match. So, all right, so I'm going to go ahead and rank Crown Jewel in the very fun category. I didn't think it was a bad show. I enjoyed myself. And it was also super early in the morning. So I kind of like it getting things done very early. But now let's go ahead and get into Survivor Series WarGames. Now, this was a PLE that a lot of people were very, very excited about because, again, you had WarGames. Who doesn't get excited about WarGames, right? The unfortunate part was that the women's WarGames was a little bit sloppy. That got heavily criticized for some of the moments not necessarily going the way that they were supposed to, but I still had so much fun with it. I was doing the watch along here on the channel, and I truly had a good time watching this match. So I may be a little bit more kinder to this match than others. And then the men's WarGames match, great story. I did think they should have tweaked some things. I think they could have maybe been a little bit more creative with the men's WarGames. So I did not love it. The match I did love was Braun, Sheamus, and Ludwig. I thought they absolutely killed it. Now that, my friends, was a hard-hitting banger. I did not like Shinsuke Nakamura versus LA Knight. In fact, I kind of hated it. I didn't like the match. I didn't like to see LA Knight losing. We haven't really gotten anything since then with Shinsuke Nakamura as champion, so maybe we shouldn't have taken the belt off of LA Knight, but whatever. And then Gunther and Damian was good too. It's just that not a lot of people cared too much about this because we had already seen it a couple times before. So for that reason, I am going to go ahead and rank the Survivor Series WarGames in the very fun category. And that was primarily because I had a good time watching it with everybody here on the watch along. You guys made it more entertaining for me. All right, let's go ahead and get into the last one, the Saturday night's main event. I decided to include it in here. Overall, this was a predictable night, but a good night of wrestling. And you guys know me, I love me some good wrestling. All the matches delivered. Drew and Sammy, Io and Liv, Cody versus KO, and then all the aftermath that we saw unfold on social media. Chelsea winning the US title. It all delivered, guys. I can't hate on this pay-per-view. I had a good time watching it. So I'm going to go ahead and rank Saturday night's main event in the very fun category. And the only reason I didn't put it in love this is because there wasn't so many crazy moments. But again, the wrestling was very good. So that's the wrap for my ranking of WWE PLE's 2024. Let me know if you agree or disagree with my rankings. And then also, if you enjoyed this video, you might enjoy the video where me and Sean Ross Sapp picked all of our favorite WWE PLE matches. You can watch that right here, right now on this channel. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. Bye, everyone.